Hi everyone, welcome back to Storytime Recaps. In this video, I'm going to recap one of the film from 2022, The Visitor. Without any further, let's get started. In the opening scene of this horror story, Robert and Maya, a married couple, are on their way to a small town known as Brier. It comes out that after Maya's father passed just a few days earlier, the pair relocated from London to her family's ancestral home. Although Robert was born and raised in London, he is somewhat torn about this choice because Maya was raised here. In the following scene, the pair shows up at the house and gets settled. Shortly after, a book falls out of the bookshelf on its own, frightening Robert. As he attempts to pick it up, a door leading to the upper level stairs opens by itself. Maya, in the meantime, opens the floor-level hidden container and removes a doll, the face of which is covered in a tiny piece of jute fabric. Later that night, the couple goes to a neighborhood tavern where everyone is grieving the loss of Maya's father. Also, they are oddly happy and excited that Robert is visiting. Afterwards, the bartender saves him their special moonshine cocktail, which Robert takes and eventually passes out from. However, a few hours later, Robert finds himself in his home bed. When he hears a woman sobbing in the distance, he chooses to follow the sound. Robert soon meets an elderly woman in the attic. She has pale eyes and no hair, who welcomes him inside and starts screaming. But all of a sudden, Robert awakens from his sleep and realizes that it was all a nightmare. He wonders what happened the previous night, and Maya tells him that she had to take him home because he passed out from alcohol. When Maya tries to flirt with him, Robert rejects her for an unknown reason. It is then disclosed that their unborn kid was unintentionally miscarried in London, and as a result, Robert and his wife are no longer together. However, Maya tells him she wants to give it another shot and is hoping for a better outcome. Later on, while exploring the house, Robert finds a ripped photo of Maya and her mother. He identifies the mother because she resembles the woman he saw in his nightmare with the same pale eyeballs. Robert now heads upstairs to the attic, where he finds a painting titled The Visitor Accepts that features a man who strangely resembles him. Upon noticing this, Robert is taken aback and inquires about it with his wife Maya, but she just brushes the assertion aside as a humorous coincidence. That afternoon, as Robert walks to a nearby store to get a newspaper, he runs into Kathy, a clerk. She is shocked to see him and says they should talk about something serious. Subsequently, she informs Robert that art acts as a lying, leading us to see the truth, which naturally escapes Robert's understanding. However, when he gets home, he finds a message Kathy gave him in the newspaper. The name and address of an antique store owned by Margaret Delacroix are included in that note. The next day, the town holds a memorial service for Maya's late father Edgar. According to Pastor Ellis, Edgar was a significant member of their community who appreciated their heritage. Then, in an odd announcement, Pastor Ellis says that the great Edgar has returned. Kathy is also there for the memorial, but she leaves suddenly a little later.
Mine's been short, it's getting a mite warm in here, I know.
Robert then proceeds to Kathy's store to have a chat with her. However, while he is there, he runs into another woman. She is ecstatic to see Robert and informs him that the village has been brightened by his visit.
It's been infinitely brighter since you arrived.
In the following scene, Robert visits the antique shop run by Margaret, the address that Kathy provided him. Not too long after, he discovers a picture of himself in the store, with a man who seems to be a Confederate soldier, and a message that says the visitor watches it burn. Margaret comes on the scene at that precise moment and is taken aback to see Robert there. She then tells him that he should go back to London right away since he feels insecure here. Margaret then ejects Robert from the premises and forbids him from ever coming back to her store. Robert comes home to find that Maya has hung the first painting on the wall. Outraged, he confronts Maya about why she put the painting there, to which she only chuckles and says she thought it would be funny.
This time he was like a Confederate.
Robert, however, is bewildered and remarks that both the place and the house seem off. He then tells her about Margaret and the second painting he discovered in the shop. However, upon hearing this, Maya becomes irritated and tells how she is trying to turn the place into their new home, but all of his obsession is with artworks that date back hundreds of years.
Focus on you.
Robert, who feels terrible about his actions, tells Maya that he will spend more time with her and make this location his new home. Margaret is seen that evening attempting to arrange a flight out of town, but soon after, she hears some sounds in the distance, and as she goes to investigate, a swarm of insects attacks her, killing her in the process. In the meantime, Robert starts having weird dreams and images. He sees the man from the other side shouting "Welcome homeboy" in the mirror. Then the man smashes Robert's glasses, and when he wakes up, he finds his shattered glasses by the bed. Robert, confused by what happened, gets out of bed and walks into the living room, where he is ecstatically informed by Maya that she is pregnant once more. Then, a month later, the scene changes to Robert and a pregnant Maya heading to Pastor Ellis' home. The pastor gives Robert a passionate, focused glance as though God has come to his house. Robert starts to feel worried, but Maya keeps pretending everything is fine. When Pastor Ellis talks about converting the upcoming child to Christianity, he says that instead of the traditional method of submerging the newborn, they will execute a simple process. Shortly after, Robert excuses himself, stating he needs to visit the restroom. There he sees an upside-down cross and fixes it, but as soon as he walks out, the cross turns upside down again. After that, Robert explores the house and finds Pastor Ellis's bedroom. There, he is startled to see a second picture that remarkably resembles his face. Like the other two, this one too has a message that says, "Visitor stakes his claim." Robert is informed by Pastor Ellis, who has just entered the room, that the man in the picture is Alistair Edgar, who has done so much for the community that everyone look up to him.
Plainly, this place was...
Robert then tells Maya about the third strange artwork he recently saw, but by then she is annoyed that he went into Pastor Ellis's bedroom without permission. Robert makes another claim to be the person in the painting, but Maya points out that Alistair Edgar was born in 1700, so unless he travels across time, he is making foolish assumptions.
Listen, I know.
After returning home, the couple is naturally terrified when they see a swarm of frogs in their living room. Maya leaves the house the following day to go to the doctor for a routine examination. In the meantime, thirsty for answers, Robert starts researching Alistair Edgar online but finds nothing worthwhile. Shortly after, he gets a call from an unknown number that says they would like to talk about the visitor. The man then asks him to come outside and introduces himself as art collector Maxwell Braun. He shows Robert a ton of pictures of Edgar taken ever since the Second World War. This enigmatic figure has been connected in some way to leaders like Stalin, Hitler, and others. Maxwell claimed that Alistair Edgar was accountable for one of the most horrific atrocities in recorded history. Maxwell says he met Margaret from the antique business while doing research for this subject, but she's also dead now. Afterwards, he encourages Robert to go back to London since he and every member of his bloodline would become visitors there, which may be harmful to everyone on Earth as well as to him.
These people, their gain is not only yours.
Robert receives a small amount of money from Maxwell in order to help with his quick departure from this area. Robert, nevertheless, says he can't just leave his family and run away because he has a pregnant wife here. During supper that night, Robert tells Maya that he doesn't feel secure for either of them or their unborn child and wants her to go back to London.
Because you grew up here.
Because you bear a passing resemblance to a man.
When he informs her of what Maxwell has told him, Maya starts to question Robert's sanity. She declares that this property is her home and that she doesn't want to leave it because of Robert's illusions, calling Maxwell insane for holding such beliefs. Robert ultimately chooses to stay in order to be with his family because he has no other choice. Later on, we witness him writing down possible child names before he quickly nods off. However, upon waking up, Robert finds that the name list has vanished and that Maxwell has left him to voicemails requesting that they meet at the arranged place. Robert heads over to meet him right away, only to learn that Maxwell has been crucified to a tree and has died. The page from Robert's diary on which he scribbled all the names is also affixed to the tree, adding to the strangeness. Among all the names is Lucian written in blood. Robert arrives at the house to tell Maya of this, and is startled to see that she is not there. He then discovers a box with a baby doll and a torn picture of a father snuggling a baby beneath it. When he compares it to the ripped picture of Maya and her mother, Robert finds that they are from the same photo. Maya enters at that very moment, sensing his worry, and she chooses to identify the two of them by revealing that the man in the photo is Edgar Cartwell, the father to Robert and her. It turns out that Robert is a estranged brother, kidnapped years ago by people who didn't agree with his family's customs. Maya further discloses that Robert was the one who killed Kathy in the middle of the night by biting her with a snake, and that he was also the reason Margaret died. Moreover, it was Robert who crucified Maxwell a few hours earlier.
You're a light bearer, Robert.
Without an heir, their family and dark activities would come to an end, and their bloodline would be annihilated. Maya's father therefore gave her the task of finding Robert when she was a little girl, since he needed a son to succeed him as the ruler of the evil force. While he attempts to comprehend what she is saying, Robert learns that Maya intended for the miscarriage in London to occur because she desired a son to continue the family line. Meanwhile, Maya tells Robert that he's feeling lightheaded from drinking a lot of alcohol. She says the alcohol was infused with certain herbs that will enable him to change back into Edgar, who he really is. Hearing this, Robert begins to get a panic attack and passes out. The following scene shows Robert starting to take on the features of Edgar, and Maya getting ready to give birth. Pastor Ellis is watching over the coven that is performing the ceremony. As the entire community gathers in robes and masks to chant as the baby is born, Pastor Ellis refers to the newborn child as Lucian, the god of fire, blood, and light. Additionally, he counsels Robert to properly nurture Lucian, since he would be the one to fulfill the Bad Lord's plan on Earth. Robert then hears the sounds of a baby crying in his bed and goes to see Maya, who has pale eyes and looks like her mother, a living corpse. Now that he has said goodbye to her, Robert is seen giving the portrait to a new colony and new set of cult members by moving it to a new location. This demonstrates that Robert is now ready to continue his forefathers' history by aiding in the growth of his cult. As the story draws to a close, Robert's devoted followers happily bid him farewell as he leaves town.
We lay in wait.
Thanks for watching, and remember to turn on your notifications to watch more movie recaps like this one.